The diplomatic inferno. The imperial conclave floated like a silent monolith above the swirling storms of the gas giant Orlon. Inside its vast circular chamber, the air hummed with static light and tension. 53 alien species, advisors, ministers, nobles, generals, sat in levitating thrones arranged in a crescent around the center dais. Their robes shimmered under the pale, cerulean glow of the chamber's lighter rays, giving the impression of a mosaic of living gemstones. And kneeling before them were the prisoners. Dozens of humans, starved, bruised, some barely conscious, were forced into a tight row. Their orange jumpsuits were stained with soot, oil, or dry blood. Most kept their heads lowered, too weak to raise them. One woman's arm trembled violently as she struggled upright, only to collapse again under the guard spears. A holographic banner above them declared, "Inquiry on Human Aggression." To the Empire, this was a hearing. To humanity, it was provocation. A low ripple of alien voices filled the chamber as the main doors hissed open. The sound fell into silence as the human envoy stepped inside. Ambassador Mara Kessler walked with the disciplined posture of someone who had stood on both battlefields and Senate floors. Her black and red uniform bore the insignia of the United Terran Diplomatic Corps, but her eyes, sharp, unflinching, reflected something far more dangerous than diplomacy. Behind her, 4 Terran Marines marched in silent formation, helmets retracted but gauntlets ready. Murmurs spread across the chamber. "That is not a diplomat," hissed a scaled noble. "She moves like a soldier," another whispered. "Humans send warriors when afraid." Lyra reached the podium at the center of the dais but didn't speak. She scanned the room. Every throne, every guard, every trembling human on the floor. When her gaze passed over the prisoners, some of them visibly straightened, as if remembering for the first time that Earth had not abandoned them. The High Imperial Minister, a tall silver-skinned alien draped in gold-threaded robes, raised a clawed hand. "Ambassador Mara Kessler of Terra," he began with cold formality, "you stand before the conclave to answer for your species' repeated acts of aggression against Imperial outposts." Holograms flickered to life around the dais, projecting images of shattered orbital platforms, scorched landing zones, and broken Imperial vessels. The Empire has tolerated humanity's unruly expansion for decades, the minister continued. But now, we must decide appropriate punishment. Your uncontrolled violence threatens galactic stability. Lyra's jaw tightened, but she remained silent. Another hologram appeared, one Lyra had not seen before. It showed human soldiers taken prisoner years ago, bound, gagged, forced into cages barely large enough for their bodies. Some were being experimented on by masked Imperial physicians. Others endured electrical torture. A few were recorded screaming names of loved ones, names the Empire ignored. The minister spoke with chilling casualness. Your PoWs, they provided the Empire with interesting data. Their wills broke swiftly under discipline. Humans are, it seems, quite fragile. The conclave chuckled. It was not the laughter of amusement. It was the self-satisfied hum of predators. Lyra's knuckles turned white as she gripped the podium. The images shifted again, this time showing the very prisoners kneeling behind her, dragged into the chamber hours earlier, shackled and beaten. "These," the minister said, "are the survivors. We present them as proof of humanity's weakness. Observe their condition." One of the guards roughly lifted a prisoner's chin for the conclave to see. The man's eyes were sunken, but they flicked toward Lyra, pleading, desperate, and ashamed all at once. Something inside Lyra snapped. The podium shuddered as her hands slammed onto its metallic surface. Energy fields crackled. The chamber fell into a stunned silence. When she finally spoke, her voice was a low tremor, dangerously controlled. "You dare," she whispered. The minister blinked. "Excuse me." Lyra's voice rose, echoing off the metallic walls with the force of a detonating shockwave. "You dare torture our people and parade them like trophies, then accuse us of aggression?" Guards stepped forward instinctively, but Lyra didn't stop. "You believe humanity fragile, because you have never seen what we do for our own." Some alien nobles shifted uneasily. Others sneered. The minister lifted his chin. Human outrage is irrelevant. The conclave's decision. He never finished. Lyra's shout exploded like thunder. "You attacked our human PoWs. Now we will conquer you." The proclamation reverberated through the conclave's acoustic amplifiers, echoing through the balconies, control rooms, and even the exterior hall. Astonished gasps rippled across the alien dignitaries. Some recoiled in fear. Others stared in disbelief. This was no diplomatic protest. It was a declaration of war. Lyra stepped back from the podium. Her expression was no longer furious. It was resolved. She turned to her Marines. "We're done here." The guards moved to intercept, but Lyra simply walked past them. They hesitated, because for the first time, they noticed the Terra Marines had quietly placed their armored boots in a combat stance. The Empire had expected human groveling. Instead, they got a promise. As Lyra exited the chamber, the holoscreens across the Empire flicked to life, automatically overridden by a Terran signal. In the void beyond Orlon, in the silent depths of the Kuiper drifts, the hidden Terran armada awakened. Engines roared to life. Stealth carriers revealed themselves like predators emerging from shadow. Humanity had been pushed too far, or had already begun. The empire that misjudged humanity. The Imperial Palace on Orlon shook with restless voices. Moments after Lyra Hale's declaration, the conclave erupted into chaos. Ministers shouting, nobles demanding retaliation, generals scrambling for information about the Terran Armada rumored to be mobilizing. In the midst of the commotion, one truth settled over them like descending ash. They had miscalculated, but none of them realized just how badly. Across the Empire's heartlands, citizens watched Lyra's broadcast replay on public holoscreens. Her words, "We will conquer you," echoed through marketplaces, military barracks, academies, and even the private chambers of aristocrats. Shock blended with disbelief, then indignation. "Conquer us? Those primitives?" scoffed an Imperial commander in a gold-plated uniform. "They have barely 10 long-range fleets," another officer growled. "Humanity is reckless. Their numbers are small, their guns outdated. Arrogance sculpted their every assumption. But ignorance sharpened their downfall." Within the Empire's Intelligence Directorate, analysts hurriedly processed incoming data from border systems. One young officer brought a datapad to his superior. "Sir, long-range sensors are detecting anomalous mass signatures in the Kuiper drifts." The older analyst waved him off. "Irrelevant. Humans scatter scrap and decoys to confuse us. They lack the industrial scale to build anything significant." The officer hesitated. "Sir, the mass signatures are larger than predicted. Several magnitudes larger." The senior analyst frowned. For the first time, doubt crept into his eyes. On Earth, the truth was finally unfolding. Inside the United Terran Defense Headquarters, a sprawling complex carved into the Himalayas, holographic star maps flashed with deployment orders. Officers rushed between terminals. Communications channels buzzed with fleet captains affirming readiness. Humanity had been preparing for this moment for 20 years. Not because they wanted war, but because they had expected one. The first time the Empire seized a Terran outpost in the Sigma Line. The first time they disappeared a human scout vessel without explanation. The first time they labeled humanity a rapidly expanding threat. Earth had learned, and Earth remembered. In the command chamber, Supreme Admiral Reagan Cho stood with arms folded as tactical reports streamed across the hollow table. She had steel-gray hair, piercing eyes, and a reputation for turning underdog battles into decisive victories. Lyra Hale's declaration had reached her minutes earlier. "So," Admiral Cho murmured, "they tortured our people and thought we'd kneel." Beside her, Fleet Marshal Juno Park offered a grim smile. "They always underestimated us. It's a weakness they can't unlearn." Admiral Cho tapped the table, activating the full projection of Earth's secret weaponry. Phase 1. Quantum disruption mines seeded into Imperial FTL routes. Phase 2. stealth drones infiltrating key sensor networks. Phase 3, deep strike kinetic carriers primed for planetary bombardment. Humanity had reverse-engineered alien drive tech, built new shipyards in the Oort cloud, and developed weapons the Empire still insisted were impossible. Cho raised her voice. Initiate Operation Homefire. Full deployment authorization. A chorus of officers affirmed the order. Across the solar system, the hidden Terran armada finally stepped out of the shadows. Massive carriers, spearhead cruisers, stealth frigates shaped like obsidian blades, and the Titan-class dreadnought TIS Horizon Breaker. The human war machine awakened. Back on Orlon, the Imperial Council convened in a gilded war chamber. 12 high-ranking lords gathered around a circular levitating table, its surface depicting the galaxy in shifting holograms. High Lord Vasher slammed a fist onto the table. The humans have declared war on the Empire. We must respond with overwhelming force. Mobilize the Prime Legions. Deploy the Armada of Radiance. Burn their worlds if necessary. Another noble scoffed. Burn Terra? We should thank them for making this easy. Humanity will crumble the moment Real fleets arrive. General Zalker, a massive insectoid being, clicked his mandibles. Our intelligence indicates they possess few long-range warships. Their military power is exaggerated. A lone voice contradicted them. Minister Selani, a thin avian scholar, tilted her head uneasily. Humans have grown faster than our projections. Their colonies multiply. Their engineers innovate. Their soldiers survive things most species cannot. Vasher sneered. You sound afraid. I sound informed, Selani retorted. Before the argument escalated, a red alarm flashed through the chamber. An aide burst through the doors, panting. High Lords, urgent report from Vornis Prime. Vasher's eyes narrowed. What report? The aide's voice trembled. It's under attack. Silence crashed over the room. That's impossible, Zalker said, mandibles clacking in denial. Humans cannot reach Vornis. It is deep in Imperial territory. The aide swallowed hard. They're already in orbit. In the Vornis system, a jewel of Imperial pride, chaos unfolded. Human stealth carriers emerged from folded space like wraiths, bypassing all Imperial sensor nets. No energy signatures preceded them. No warning arrived. In the sky rained fire. Kinetic rods, tungsten spears accelerated to near-relativistic speed, fell silently from orbit. They struck Imperial defense platforms with the power of small suns. No shields could intercept. No armor could endure. One by one, the proud orbital rings of Vornis shattered. Inside the Imperial Command Citadel, officers scrambled. Who are we fighting? What ships are those? How did they get through our defenses? No answer came. Only destruction. Within minutes, the entire defense fleet was crippled. Within an hour, Vornis Prime, the Empire's military symbol, was burning. And then, to every device in the system, a human broadcast appeared. Lyra Hale, calm, unyielding, terrifying in her certainty. This is not revenge, she said. This is justice. For every human tortured, for every prisoner abused, for every world you enslaved. Her voice shook sectors. The Empire will fall, not because we destroy it, but because every species you oppressed will rise with us. Across Vornis, enslaved aliens heard her words and believed her. Back in the throne world, Vasher stood frozen. Humanity had done the impossible. The council chamber crackled with fear. General Zalker whispered the words no one dared speak. We underestimated them. And for the first time in its ancient history, the Galactic Empire felt something it had not felt in 10,000 years. Panic. The Empire breaks. The fall of Vornis Prime sent shockwaves through the galaxy. The Imperial news grid attempted to suppress the footage, burning orbital rings, shattered dreadnoughts, terrified commanders. But information flowed faster than censorship. Smuggled clips spread through merchant channels, resistance networks, and even Imperial military chat lines. For the first time in centuries, the idea that the Empire could lose took root, and humanity drove that doubt like a spear. While Imperial analysts struggled to understand how the impossible had happened, the Terran offensive expanded with surgical precision. On the liberated mining world of Teshka, cheers erupted as human marines dismantled the shock collars from the enslaved populace. A silver-furred elder clutched a marine's gauntlet and whispered, "We prayed for someone, anyone, to challenge the Empire. None dared until you." On the oceanic moon of Morales, human deep strike units seized an Imperial cloning foundry used to create labor slaves. Instead of occupying it, they broadcast the facility's horrors to the galaxy. Billions watched in disgust as vats of artificial embryos, non-human, engineered for servitude, floated in nutrient tanks. Humanity didn't conquer worlds. Humanity freed them. That distinction spread like wildfire. Far from the front lines, Ambassador Mara Kessler operated in the shadows of diplomacy and intelligence. Her roar in the conclave had sparked the war, but now her role evolved. Inside a small orbital station suspended over the moon of Ilarex, Lyra met with representatives of 6 species, once loyal Empire subjects, now disillusioned observers. She stood in a dimly lit briefing room, blue holographic light casting sharp shadows. "This is not just a human war," Lyra said, pacing slowly. "This is a chance for every world oppressed by the Empire to finally breathe." A 4-armed Aurelian diplomat clicked nervously. "If we rise, their Oblivion judges will purge us." Lyra placed a datapad on the table. The hologram projected images of tortured human PoWs, secret Imperial prisons, and the genetic enslavement projects the Empire denied for centuries. "This is who rules you," she said softly. "A regime that breaks those it fears. A regime that tortured our people for sport. But their fleets are stretched, their communication lines in chaos, their propaganda failing." A reptilian scholar looked up. "You humans, you fight like beings who have tasted extinction." Lyra nodded. "Humanity has nearly gone extinct, more than once. But we learn something each time. Survival means protecting those who stand with us." Silence. Then, slowly, one species pledged support. Then another. And another. By the end of the night, Lyra had secured alliances across 27 star systems. Rebellions began within days. In the Imperial Palace, the Emperor stared at a holoscreen showing flames engulfing Vornus Prime. His spined crown vibrated as he struggled to contain his rage. "Mobilize the Oblivion Fleet," he ordered. A hush fell over the war chamber. The Oblivion Fleet, an ancient armada forbidden by Galactic Charter, was a symbol of the Empire's darkest era. Massive dreadnoughts equipped with planet-sterilizing beams. Crews conditioned to obey without conscience. A fleet used only twice in history, both times resulting in mass genocide. One advisor stammered, "My Emperor, using those ships will awaken every fear the galaxy holds of us. It will prove the Terran broadcasts. It will crush humanity," the Emperor thundered. "It will remind them who rules the stars." The order was signed. The galaxy trembled. The first encounter came 2 weeks later at the Ash Rift, a turbulent star region filled with charged debris clouds and gravitational eddies. The Terran First Armada, led by Admiral Cho, had taken position on the rift's safe boundary. Sensors detected distortions, like shadows hiding behind warped space. Then the void split, and the Oblivion Fleet emerged. Hundreds of monolithic vessels, each the length of a small moon, arrayed in perfect formation. Their hulls glowed sickly red, powered by forbidden reactors. Their weapon coils pulsed with annihilation energy. Even Admiral Cho felt a chill. So the Emperor is desperate. But she didn't flinch. "Humanity," she said calmly to her fleet, "has faced extinction before. We do not bow. We do not break. We endure." The battle began with a star-shaking roar. Oblivion dreadnoughts opened fire, massive energy beams slicing through the rift. Terran carriers deployed swarms of kinetic missiles and stealth fighters. The rift's gravitational turbulence twisted the battlefield into chaotic spirals, forcing both sides into brutal close quarters. Human Marines boarded an Oblivion vessel using breaching torpedoes. The corridors inside were hellish, blood-red lights, indoctrinated soldiers, traps designed for slaughter. The Marines fought with ruthless efficiency, reclaiming every meter in fire and steel. The Empire held technological might. Humanity held willpower. And in a battle of attrition, willpower won. After 7 hours of carnage, 2/3 of the Oblivion fleet lay in ruins, torn apart by kinetic bombardment, infiltrated by human Marines, or devoured by the rift itself. But humanity paid a price. Hundreds of ships lost, thousands of soldiers dead. The surviving Oblivion vessels retreated, their morale shattered. The unprecedented defeat spread across the Empire like a plague. But the death blow came from an unexpected place. For the first time since the war began, the human POWs captured on Orlon were allowed to speak. Not by Imperial choice, but because rebellious Imperial media networks leaked Lyra's files. The galaxy listened as broken men and women recounted their torment. They broke our bones to measure regeneration. They starved us to test survival thresholds. They told us humans were expendable. Every testimony was a dagger. Billions of Imperial citizens recoiled in horror. Protests erupted. Some garrisons refused orders. A few systems declared neutrality. Others outright defected. The Emperor's grip weakened. Humanity's fury ignited rebellions across the entire Empire. And as the flames of revolution spread, a simple realization settled across the galaxy. The Empire was breaking, not from human weapons alone, but from the truth. Humanity had become the spark, and now the galaxy was burning with the desire to be free. The fall of the Empire. The Galactic Empire had ruled for 10,000 years. Its banners had flown over trillions. Its fleets had conquered systems spanning from the galactic core to the void's edge. Its name alone once silenced rebellion. But now, its name inspired revolt. Across the stars, the Empire cracked like ice under a rising sun. Mutinies erupted. Colonies refused taxes. Enslaved species tore down their master statues. Imperial commanders found their own soldiers refusing to fire on civilians. Humanity had not merely waged war. Humanity had shattered belief in the Empire's invincibility. And the final blow was coming. Deep within the Terran flagship Horizon Breaker, Ambassador Mara Kessler stood before a massive star map projecting the Empire's collapsing frontier. Admiral Cho, flanked by her top strategists, studied the flickering red and green territories. 3 more sectors defected overnight, Cho reported, and 2 have formally requested Terran protection. Their militias are already turning on Imperial garrisons. Lyra nodded, but her expression remained grim. The Emperor will not allow a peaceful end. He'll burn his entire domain before surrendering. Then we reach him before he lights the match, Cho replied. The stars shifted as the hologram zoomed out to the Empire's throne world. Orlon, a supermassive gas giant orbited by ring cities and fortified moons, protected by defensive arrays spanning thousands of kilometers. The heart of Imperial power. The place where the Conclave mocked humanity and displayed tortured POWs like trophies. Cho tapped the map. This is where it ends. On Orlon, the Emperor watched his war council crumble. Ministers shouted at one another. Generals demanded reinforcements that no longer existed. Several noble houses had fled. Others secretly negotiated neutrality. The Emperor stood at the center of the throne hall, his dark robes flickering under the dim light. His crown, once a symbol of eternal rule, seemed oversized on him now, as if authority itself were slipping away. "Your Majesty," said General Zalker, mandibles trembling, "we have lost the Outer Rim. The Oblivion fleet was destroyed. Vornis is gone, and rebellions grow every hour." The Emperor snarled, baring sharp teeth. "We are the Empire. We cannot fall." But even he heard the desperation in his own voice. A hologram flickered to life. It was the head of internal security. "My Emperor, a message from the citizens of Nyren. They demand immediate withdrawal of Imperial troops, or they will side with the Terrans." The Emperor's eyes widened. Our own core worlds now threaten rebellion. Yes, the officer whispered. Your people have seen the recordings. They know what we did to the humans. What we did to everyone. The Emperor slammed his fist against his throne. Lies. All lies. But the truth had already burned through the Empire like a cleansing fire. For a moment, the hall fell silent, until alarms blared. Incoming Terran fleet, shouted the censor's officer. Massive in scale. They've breached system boundaries. A hush fell. The humans had come for the heart. The Horizon Breaker emerged from folded space, its obsidian hull glowing under the light of Orlon storms. Behind it stretched the full might of the Terran Armada. Carriers, cruisers, dreadnoughts, drone platforms, and liberation transports carrying medical teams and diplomatic envoys. Humanity came not just to conquer. Humanity came to liberate. Admiral Cho stood on the bridge. All ships, prepare for assault. Our target is the throne's citadel. We disable, we do not annihilate. Understood, the fleet echoed. And then the armada moved. Human kinetic lances pierced through orbital fortresses. Hack drones infiltrated the Empire's shield grid, shutting down massive defense beams. Stealth fighters danced between turret fire, disabling reactors with precise strikes. Human marines stormed the ring cities, fighting alongside newly freed alien resistance cells. Every front erupted simultaneously. Within hours, Orlon's defenses collapsed. Inside the throne's citadel, chaos erupted. Guards scrambled. Ministers fled. Soldiers threw down weapons as rebels swarmed through the inner halls. Zulker burst into the throne room. Your Majesty, Terrans breached the outer gate. The Emperor tightened his grip on a ceremonial scepter. Then we fight to the last breath. Activate the palace purge. If I fall, the citadel burns with me. Before he could press the command, the main doors exploded inward. Terran Marines entered, armored, disciplined, silent. Behind them walked Lyra Hale, her presence cold and resolute. The Emperor staggered back. You? Lyra stopped several paces away. This is over. You dare challenge the Empire? He snarled. You tortured our people, she replied, her voice fierce yet controlled. You enslaved worlds. You ruled by fear. And you believed we were too weak to stand against you. The Emperor spat. Humans were nothing. Lyra stepped closer. And yet you lost to us. He lunged with a blade hidden beneath his robes. Lyra moved like lightning. Her marine interceptors pinned him to the floor. The blade clattered away. As he writhed, she spoke not with anger, but with finality. You will stand trial, before the very species you oppressed. Word spread quickly. The Emperor has fallen. The Empire is no more. Across the galaxy, cheers erupted on mining colonies, ocean worlds, forest moons, desert outposts. The ancient machine of tyranny had collapsed. Admiral Cho's voice broadcast to every system. This is the United Terran Coalition. The war is over. We invite all liberated worlds to join the Council of Free Species. A future built on dignity, not domination, begins today. Later, as calm returned to Orlon, Lyra walked through the palace balcony overlooking the swirling storms of the giant planet. The weight of history settled on her shoulders. Cho approached quietly. It's done, the Admiral said. Humanity kept its promise. Lyra exhaled slowly. We did more than conquer. Yes, Cho agreed. We changed the galaxy. Behind them, freed prisoners reunited with their families. Rebels embraced former enemies. Medics tended to wounded aliens and humans alike. Lyra watched, her expression softening. This, she whispered, is justice. Not vengeance. Justice. And as the banners of the new council rose across Orlon's skyline, humanity stood not as conquerors, but as liberators who refused to let tyranny stand.